Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here today. Thank you also to South by Southwest for hosting us, for our partners, The Standard and Signet Gin. My name is Louise O'Kelly, Artforum's representative in the UK, and this is the session From Club Culture to Art. Please join me in welcoming our speakers, Mark Leckey and Christelle Oyiri. A few words about our wonderful panelists. Christelle Oyiri is a French interdisciplinary artist of mixed heritage, Ivorian, Guadeloupean, and Martinican living and working in Paris. She performs as a DJ and electronic music producer under the name CRYSTALLMESS. Her work has been featured in institutions in France and abroad, such as the Centre Pompidou, Lafayette Anticipation, Haus der Kunst, and SXSW London, among others. She also has the current show at The Gathering here in London. Mark Leckey is a British contemporary artist working with collage art, music, and video. He's found object art and video pieces which incorporate themes of nostalgia and anxiety and drawn elements of pop culture span several videos. In particular, he's known for Ferrucci Made Me Hardcore 1999 and Industrial Light and Magic 2008, for which he won the 2008 Turner Prize. His retrospective exhibition at the Julius Stoschek in Berlin, titled Enter Through Medieval Wounds, closed in May. Now, for both of you, there's a long history of artists working with sound, and specifically with club music. It's a history of forms moving from youth culture and into art exhibitions, and from the dance floor into the museum or gallery space. You can think about the futurists, their obsession with technology progress, or the Dadaists, Cabaret Voltaire, for example. Or during Fluxus, there's that relation between experimental music and the arts. And there's also the musical theoretical analysis of club music and techno in the first writings of Koja Shun, who you've referenced in your work, Christelle. Each of your practices engages these different passages from music to art and back, but from different positions. Mark, your work begins with working class youth culture and underground dance culture in Thatcher and post-Thatcher era Britain. Later you draw from the history of film, myth, popular culture, and autobiography. Christelle, your work emerges through DJing, production, writing, and performance, and has treated club music and diasporic musical traditions as source material that finds its way into art exhibitions. Christelle, did you start your work as a musician before later segueing to visual art, or was it the other way around for you?
I started first as a musician, but I was also like an art major in high school. Mm-hmm. So the two is like converging and in dialogue always, but music always superseded everything for me.
Mm. And was there something that you found through music that you couldn't find in art, or vice versa?
I think that from my position, from where I grew up, the perspective of being an artist, like being a visual artist, was like not on the table, like because I grew up like working class, so like I wasn't even envisioning myself being an artist. It was just like an extension of what I was doing, but not something that I consider like a potential career. Mm-hmm. So music was always like in my environment, but it was also not something that like was a career for me, or that like I envision as like, as a career. It was more like an extension and something that like is ambient to my environment. Because I feel like growing up with like immigrant parents, they want you to be a doctor, or they want you to be a lawyer, or they want you to have like a job in an office, not like them. Like, so it's like, it was like kind of like even like a struggle to make them like understand that like it's an actual job. Like it's not just like me having fun, even though it's like 80%, 90% of it.
Great. And Mark, how about you? You started your work as, we're terming here like rave kid, art school student from Northern England for a while, who I understand maybe didn't want to make art.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you can tell us a bit about
Still don't want to make art.
How music was calling you at that time rather than art.
I mean, it's the same. It's like Christelle says about the ambience. I mean, it's like I grew up with music, and music was like my access to, I don't know, this kind of other realm, or this other possibility, or like the imaginal space, whatever you want to call it. So music came first, and then it was different back. I went to art school in the 80s, and that was when you could still get a full grant, housing benefit.
Yeah.
So it was very easy for me to go to art school. I was signing on at the time, and I was financially better off going to college than signing on.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of following that tradition of artist musicians, like all the bands I like Roxy Music, Brian Eno, that kind of stuff. I'd all gone to art school, so I went to art school to be in a band, which never happened. and then I got kind of confused at art school by I don't know, by, I guess, critical theory. I mean, I've said this too many times, but it changed me going to art school, and I had to transform myself in some ways, I think.
Yeah.
And I think music for me now is like a way to, I don't know, sort of find myself back. Return to myself in some ways.
To reconnect with you.
A little bit, yeah. I think, and to find some kind of synthesis, I guess, between art and music. What I've learned since I've been at art school, since I've been an artist, and then combine that with music. But there's always a dialectic between art and music for me. There's always a push and pull. Where I lean towards one and then kind of push back against it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In both of your practices, you've both found, I guess, club music or the communities that are gathered around the club as a way of connecting in and thinking about ways of being together. Do you find that there are some things that you can speak about or express in one art form and not the other? For example, Christelle, how does a DJ set for you compare with what you might do when you're making a work of art?
I feel like a DJ set is more compressed and time-based. There's something very much kind of a concentrated, it's very dense, and you get to see the reaction of the audience and be in direct communication with the audience right away, which really is really close to performance art as well. And I feel like music is also about vibration. So there's this language that you cannot perceive and that is really strong. So I don't think that I managed to do that with pure visual art that doesn't include music, just a painting. But yeah, I would say that this is the feeling that is running my life. I'm looking for that type of feeling every time I create an artwork. But also, on the other hand, when it comes to installation work, for instance, you get to, what I like about doing shows and is that there's less of an ephemeral nature in the artwork. People can come back to it and they can actually bask into it. Whether a DJ set and music, it's there's this immediacy that is really powerful, but you can only capture it once, So
yeah, and I think there's also something about in your practice you use a lot the language of music in terms of collaging or sampling and mixing, and I guess it feeds into the logic of the work in different ways, right?
Yeah, it's really, I always thought editing is really, really close to the way you use a DAW, a software that you use to make music. It's and even techniques of samplings, like you mentioned, like, is really close to the way I personally edit my movies, my films, yeah.
Yeah, because in your practice, you also speak a lot about registering the different histories that that you are drawing upon in your personal life too. And I wondered, do you feel that between the art or the space of the club, one or other of those offers a way to bring that together more appropriately? Do you feel that they connect, or that it actually produces an inverse?
I feel like they're very different. Like, I'm just dabbling into the art world. Like, I'm just starting. I'm like a baby artist, I feel. I think that, like, what I like about contemporary art is that there is a reverence to the forefathers and the foremothers that, like, paved the way before us. And there is, like, a real enthusiasm about seeing artists grow older and, like, see, like, how their work develop. Like, people actually love old artists. They rock with them when, like, people don't like older DJs, or, like, there's, like... And when I say that, I feel like I'm speaking from my experience as a woman. I know that, like, it's amazing to go see Carcox, like, it's amazing to go see, like, I don't know, like, to go see, like, I don't know, DJ Rush and, like, Underground Resistance and stuff, like, but I feel like as a girl, like, I can sense that the music world is more like ageism than the contemporary art world. Like, the rhythm and just the pace is much more quicker, in my humble opinion, in the music world. And what I find in pockets of the art world, because I feel like there's several art worlds too.
Yes.
Let's be honest about that. Like, there's several art worlds. In the pockets that I'm trying to evolve in, like, I'm trying to ease up and, like, also, like, understand that it's like a 50-year-old career. You don't have to, like,
Yeah.
Well, Mark, as someone who's had a longer stretch of career, perhaps you can speak a little bit about that trajectory, and also because I think that your work, speaks to a lot of social, cultural moments in British culture, right? There's, different references. I mean, like Fiorucci Made Me Hardcore. I mean, some people talked about that work at the time being nostalgic even. So I wondered maybe if you can talk a little bit how you relate to a sense of history in your work also.
I mean, that always comes up, nostalgia. But I don't know. I mean, for me, like, when I made that, I was kind of identifying a condition, wasn't really, I was kind of, it began, to be honest, out of some kind of nostalgic impulse, but as I was making it, I started realising or understanding the kind of, that this was outside of me, or it was a condition, like I say, it was a kind of pathology, right?
Okay, or like a wider social state?
Yeah, well, I think it was the beginning of something. To me, it marks that kind of transition from, like, analog to digital, and the digital kind of inducing this kind of nostalgic state that everything becomes available, essentially. And so your sense of time, or like time getting converted into space, sort of changes your relationship to, like, the past, right? So it began with a kind of genuine kind of longing, but then it becomes more about kind of, this is how, this is the world, this is the affordances of the world working upon me. Do you know what I mean? And I think since then, that's kind of how I've tried to make work. It's kind of, I don't know, sort of listen to my own needs or upsets or desires or whatever, and then kind of, like, allow them to be amplified by the kind of conditions that are producing them, right?
Right.
What was the question? Was that
extend? No, I think that's very helpful to hear because I was also thinking about these, the different like social and cultural moments in British history that you have drawn into your work, and even I guess this sort of like sampling of different references that you pulled through. I mean, I'm thinking also about your. The sound system works from the 2000s, which draw on this, like the sound system culture, which is prevalent in places like Notting Hill. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about how you're pulling in these references too.
I mean, I was just drawing on like my own history, but also, all right. One reason to kind of look back. Is because what I was trying to talk about before, I think, which is that you, like, to enter into the art world, or to enter into the kind of the world of art, is if you come from, like, a background, a working class background, or a different environment, then you have to transition into that, right? And after that transition, after that change, then you have to look back at what you were previously, right? And the kind of values and the environment that produced you, right? That had the most profound effect upon you in your childhood and in your teenage years, right? So that's why I'm constantly going back to that time, because for me, that's about class, and that's something that I haven't resolved within art, right? Yeah. It's still a problem for me, right? So I keep returning back to that because it bothers me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I'm here tonight and we're talking about music is because music, for me, is an expression of the working class, right? It's how the working class kind of revealed their intelligence in some ways, right? Through fashion, through music, right? They make it visible through there, and it has to be kind of acknowledged, right? So that's, and yeah. I mean, I could go on, but I don't know.
No, I agree. I feel like going to like a gallery with like a white wall is like a super intimidating experience if you don't have like a set of references and to even know how to move and like how to like interact with the works and like this is exactly why they have mediators in a lot of art centers, like to actually like make the art like digestible to like,
it's true. Music
to as many people. I mean, in music you don't have this filter. No. You have like this immediacy and this kind of like horizontal, like experience that like makes it available to like everyone, especially today. I mean, for better or for worse, but like especially today with streaming and stuff, it's like it's even easier to put out music now. So there's no middleman. So the expression and the possibilities for the working class are like endless as well in that capacity.
That's what. Sorry, can I just?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, that I find most kind of like acute in the art world is an inability to an idea of local art, right? And local art is always somehow kind of less than, right? Or it's kind of somehow kind of it's given a kind of an area to kind of be local in.
Right. I think about like regional specificity.
But like music for me is like, music can be local, it can be regional. I mean, it can be of the community and at the same time be experimental and difficult Do you know what I mean? And
and universally accepted.
Yeah, and art really fails at that to me.
Right.
It fails at that idea between the local can also be experimental or kind of or even intelligent in any real way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's like I say. It's like music for me is a kind of I don't know, a kind of grievance upon the art world in some ways.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because of all the things that I think it sort of refuses or kind of ignores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think music is a way to kind of like try and open it up, right?
Yeah. Interesting. So then I might tack also to Christelle, different works of yours that use a lot of musical references or even like dance culture. So works like War Club Action and Collective Amnesia in Memory of Logobi that treat, vernacular dance, regional music, digital circulation, street culture as art historical source material. Maybe you can speak a little bit about these works and what in particular interested you about Logobi, and maybe also explained for our audience.
Yes. So this is like my first video. This is the first video I've ever made. So it's called Collective Amnesia, and basically like I wanted to make a documentary like around this like genre that is called Logobi, and that was like born in Ivory Coast but really became famous in France and more particularly like in banlieue in Paris. And basically it's like it was prominent in the late 2000s and beginning of 2010, so I would say from 2009 until 2011, so only 2 years, so it's like almost like a zeitgeist, and the reality is that I was not partaking in Logobi, but my cousins were. And what they were doing is that the particularity of Logobi is that they had like this syncopated like West African rhythms mixed with like hardcore, like hard techno, like hard, like Belgian techno almost, like fast-paced, almost like gabber a little bit. And so it was the mixture of the two. And for me, like, I sat back, like, years after, like, witnessing my little cousin, like, going to malls and, like, blasting Logobi and doing, like, battle dances, or going to Gare du Nord. Like, Gare du Nord used to be one of the spots where they would go and they would have, like, battle dances and stuff like that. And they would also have their own, like, digital ecosystems through like what we call in France sky blogs, where they would like put pictures of each dancers and they would have like all these different crazy looks and stuff. And so my little cousins used to like really be into it, but like for some reason when I tried to interrogate them on it, they didn't want to speak about it. And I always thought that was weird because for me it's like of course, like Black musical expressions are like prominent in the time that we're living in, whether it's rap, techno, dancehall, or whatever. But what I was really interested in, and that also speaks to what Mark was talking about, is the local and the regional aspect of it. Like it's like it was so unique that it was the sound of like the Black diaspora in France, which I personally felt a chip on my shoulder for a long time because I was like, the Black British people do it. They have their own thing going on. And the crazy part is that France has a bigger Black diaspora than the British, like, and don't act like you haven't seen it when you come to Gare du Nord, guys. Like, it's very visible, So it's like, I always felt weird that like to experience a sense of Blackness in a togetherness way, I have to go to Notting Hill Carnival, or I have to go to Harlem in the US. Like it never really it never really felt okay with me. You know, I enjoyed it and I salute it and I pay homage to it and I respect it. But at the same time, I'm not British and I'm not American. I'm French. So I was like, okay, like I want us to have our own thing. And so I had this discussion with my cousins and they were like, yeah, but it's like, they were like, it was ghetto, we don't want to talk about it, because they had like this type of like respectability politics that they wanted to abide to, because a lot of people that were dancing Logobi was like seen as loud, you know, like seen as like, you know, like troublemakers, like criminals, thugs, even though they were just dancing, you know. But what I found interesting in like the research that I carried is also like the difference between the apprehension of sound in French contemporary culture and British contemporary culture. Because British contemporary culture is so tied up to Jamaican culture, their perspective on sound and their perspective on loudness is not the same as French culture at all. You know, so it's expected for people to like go outside, go out in the pub and like have the carnival and be loud, you know, like, and just be a lad, you know, like, but in France, it's not exactly the same, you know, like apprehension of sound. And I see it and I understood it speaking to my cousins, because I was like, there's really literally nothing wrong in being 14 and dancing. You could do like way worse, like
yeah.
You know, so, but they wouldn't do it, so I decided to like do sort of like a really cryptic movie about a girl that like lose her memory and kind of like piece like her memory back together through like Logobi and through like different like pieces of archives of like Logobi, you know. And basically that was it. And revisiting that, like, I was also inspired by Mark's work, you know? So, because, like, I think that, like, I really understood, like, that I had nostalgia of my own, of also like you said, the version that I was and the people that I was hanging out with that I couldn't hang out with anymore because I was in college and you had to do this code switching and kind of like leave home. And so for my cousins, it was like, oh, you want to talk about this ghetto stuff. But for me, it was like, I'm just trying to reconnect with like also a sense of like a belonging, but also a sense of like, a childlike sense of wonder as well, you know, like, and also like a childlike sense and approach to the internet, you know, that was like very, just a lot of care and a lot of like freedom and a lot of fun, you know. So yeah, basically.
I think this ties in nicely, actually, with some of your work, Mark, and it's nice to hear that you know, this is an influence or an inspiration for you, because obviously, well, we spoke about Future Made Me Hardcore of being this kind of archival impulse, but also I'm thinking of your work, Dream English Kid, 1964 to 1999 AD, where you're assembling found footage, music, television, and fragments of popular culture into something that's intensely personal. Perhaps you can speak a little bit about the impulse behind that work and describe it for the audience.
That work came out of, it was, when did I make that?
Well, it says 1964 to 1999
I didn't make it in 1964,
AD,
yeah.
So, I mean,
2000,
yeah, it's
some 16, I reckon, something like that.
Right, because in theory it's footage for every year of your life before you emerged as an artist. Is this concept?
But it was to do. Oh, it was when all the It was the archives, like the vast archives, becoming available online. It was the sort of beginning of that. Right. You could kind of project that this stuff was just going to grow and grow and accumulate. And the kind of conceit was I found this, I've told this too many times, but I found this bit of, it was just audio, but it was on YouTube, and it was a recording of this gig I went to when I was 14. I went to see Joy Division in Liverpool, and a matinee for under 18s, which is kind of amazing. And anyway, like going through YouTube one night with a glass of wine, I came across this audio of the gig, and there was barely anyone there. There was like 20 people there. So I thought, if I kind of listened in, if I had the right equipment, the right audio equipment, would I be able to like hear myself
right.
in this recording, right? That was the sort of conceit. It's like, could I piece together my own past from this burgeoning archive? That was the kind of idea.
Okay. So you
but I couldn't.
See a sense of yourself
Yeah.
in these different cultural moments,
Yeah,
right?
I had to do a lot of fabrication.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it didn't. But now, I mean, now it would be quite straightforward, I think, wouldn't it? Especially if you were, you know, if you were in your 20s, I guess, then all that footage is immediately accessible, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the idea, to do that.
Okay. Interesting. And so, Mark, I mean, you've spoken critically about your, I guess, art school experience or the theoretical relationship, your relationship to theory, perhaps. And I'm curious also, Christelle, because you reference quite a lot of postmodernism, media theory, Afrofuturism, whilst also pushing against it in your work. How does this play out for you, I guess, in terms of the final output of a work versus, you know, what you're getting from it?
I think that like it also comes from I didn't go to art school, so I don't have the same relation with like art history or like, I guess, like art teachings and stuff like that, because I didn't go to art school. I actually studied humanities, so I guess this is also what transpires in my work, like that I'm at ease with books, you know, because I felt like, I don't know, my relationship with theory was super traumatic because I went to in France we have this system, I don't even know how to explain it because it sounds crazy, but it's kind of like, it's called prépa. So basically, if you're like a good student, like in math or like in philosophy, they send you to prépa. And me, I went to a Catholic prépa, so with like a crazy like philosophy teacher that was like against the French Revolution. Like so he was like insane. Monsieur Desmalets, if you see me, he was insane. Like I still have him on Facebook. But so I always felt like weird about like being in a Catholic prépa because all of my friends were like in the public one. So their courses was like much more like, oh, we're gonna study like Foucault, we're gonna study like you know, like just modern contemporary like theorists. But me, I had to study like Pascal, Bossuet, like really like medieval, like Spinoza. I mean, Spinoza, fine, like amazing. But like he was like really anti any structuralist. So no Foucault, no Deleuze, no Derrida. Like he was like they're devilish, like they carry, I mean, you know, Catholics. I'm a Catholic, but like it's just like, it was just like saying some Catholic, like super hardcore Catholic prépa. So he was like against the Republic. Right. So it was crazy, but it also allowed me to like, so when I discovered Foucault and when I discovered like Bataille and all of like the post-structuralists, it felt like novelty to me. It felt like there was like something sexy about it because because I just discovered it basically.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I always had like a particular relationship with theory because that's where like that's the only thing I was good at school. Like, I don't know if you guys do have that like in your courses in the UK, but in France, like your last 2 years of high school, you have to study philosophy basically.
Right.
And so like I was really good at that. The rest, total like just shit. I'm sorry. Like I had really bad grades in anything but that. But I found like a really specific and beautiful, I formed a really beautiful like bond with it because I always felt like books were also like somewhat of a gateway drugs, because when you read books, it's almost when you have like this like hallucinogen like experience, because you can just close your eyes and imagine. Nobody can capture your imagination. So I don't know, I found my little like garden in that, you know, like I know that it was super alienating to like a lot of my friends who are like, I hate it. Like, I'm like, I love it, baby. I really do. So like, I didn't go to art school, so I guess my apprehension of art was through theory as well.
And maybe a question for you both. Do you think that music can think in ways that theory cannot?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I definitely think... I mean, I've come round to theory now, in some ways, through, I guess... All right, so music, for me, opened up a kind of channel of grace, a sort of mystical opening, a portal into kind of, I don't know, thinking about. I mean, you know, one of the things that draws me to music is, I wrote this down because I wanted to say this. There's so I show with the Cabinet Gallery in London. And the first time I ever came across them, they had a show called Cultural, and I was like, "Wow, what's that mean? That's such an amazing title, Cultural." And it's one of those things that's just, I don't know, stayed with me. I've kept close to me. Yeah, all the time, like a moment of seizure where you just like something just speaks to you. And I think there's something about pop music or music which is like, you know, especially in terms of pop, it's very visible, it's very immediate, it's very direct, but there's something occluded about it. There's a kind of mystery to it, and I've felt that mystery since I was like 14, since I first got into music. It's like, what is that? Do you know what I mean? And that question never gets answered. It exhausts, it never gets exhausted, sorry. So it's like, in that now, I find music as a way to kind of access something, I don't know, other, or something greater than. And in that, I can kind of return, not that I'm not reading like Deleuze or Foucault, but I can look. That work has been, I think it got very kind of Protestant, I'm going to struggle with that, Protestantized in America, and actually it's kind of very weird and Catholic, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a kind of quasi mystical element to some of the writing, isn't there? So I think I've kind of come back through. So long way of putting it. Music has kind of taken me back to kind of writing. I mean, now I don't read theology. I read, you know, Wikipedia about theology, but you know, I read. That's my interest now. Is like theology. Yeah. But through theology, I can access kind of ideas like from Lacan and other kind of...
But I think that's beautiful because I think both of those approach, if you want to call it, sacred or transcendent space in different ways, right? Because one is, the very like intellectual, and the other I think is more embodied, right? And I think that's it's coming at it from two different viewpoints. Yeah,
exactly. And I like, but then they also kind of like, because one of the kind of Wikipedia pages I follow a lot is like Gnosticism, right?
Right.
And this kind of Gnostic idea of like a kind of almost like a direct experience of the sacred, right? Of something immediate, right? And allowing yourself to kind of to know the world through that, like gnosis, being in knowledge. So that's what's informing you, and it kind of sets up a kind of opposition in some ways to like the rational and the kind of logical and all the rest of it. But I think particularly with that kind of writing, it's not that really, is it? It's not. It's illogical in some ways, and I think, and that's what it's that sense that art, this is why I still make art, is that trying to find that kind of irrational or other space, you know what I mean, that is like in excess of like the world we know now, So.
Well, both of you have used music also in your installations, right, in the exhibition space, and I think that is a way to have a very kind of direct, visceral experience with something. Christelle, for example, your current show at the Gathering directly references this body relationship. You have these sculptural bodies standing on top of the sound system speakers. Perhaps you can speak a little bit about the role of the body, because in that exhibition, it's very present, the role of your body, and I guess the body in relationship to music, but also popular culture and body identity.
I guess for me, like I said earlier, like I was always more of a mind person, and I love to be puppet master. So, so like being a DJ is perfect for that, because you basically just make people dance, and like you're just like behind the desk, and like you get to kind of like have like your own like little moment, and like it just feels like both meditative, but also like you're not entirely the centerpiece. The audience is the centerpiece. Like a DJ without like an audience or club goers, it's like, it's cool, but come on, like there's a missing piece here. So I felt like a lot of the time, like I was like dissociating and like dancing a little bit, but not like wanting to like take all of the space, and like really like I said earlier, being more of like a theoretical person as well. Like, so I think that like it got to a point where also like as a woman, my body was changing tremendously, like the 30s. Yay! So my transition from my 20s to my 30s were like really eye-opening, because it was also like coincidental with like a lot of like big moments in my DJ career, but that like made me even more exposed and like pushed my body to like a certain edge as well. And so I couldn't really ignore it anymore, because I also feel like DJing, performing, all of these things cannot happen without you being there. You know, like they cannot happen without you being an actual vessel of flesh here and there. And it was a realization for me that I was not a machine and that I was a person, and that I needed to really take care of also myself. So I felt like the Tate Commission, which the show at Gathering is kind of like a rendition of this piece, was also a way for me to like grasp this reality and grasp it through my experience of like sound and my experience as a DJ. And And also like what was like also really, I wouldn't say depressing, but challenging for me at the time was like, I'm going through all of this, and then I have to like look at my phone like suggesting me like getting a nose job or fillers or lip fillers or like threads or like Botox or like, which I love all of this. I haven't got it yet, but like I'm like, this is amazing. But there was also like a point in like me experiencing that and being like in that loop, you know, where I was like, okay, there's something really coincidental about the fact that like when I was a young girl, like the prospect of plastic surgery was essentially something that you would see for people that are on TV or are in the entertainment world. Like the regular girl would not have like Botox or fillers and stuff like that. At least like how I grew up, like it was really reserved to like a happy few, like people that have a lot of money or are like overly exposed, you know? So I was also thinking about how like the idea of like remixing yourself and like over-editing yourself and like seeing yourself as like a Canva was like the new hit thing now, you know, like, and like in my research, like I was like really revisiting a lot of like work by Genesis P. Orridge, obviously, because she really like took it all the way there, not just as like an extension of like, you know, like capitalism wants you to like want a new nose, you know, but like more so into like, I apply this technique that I have, which is the cut-off technique, through every single aspect of my life, whether it's my art, but also myself, you know. So I guess like Perpetual Remix was exploring all of like these complicated feelings that you have like as like a performer, but also as a DJ, and also just as a person and as a woman, through exploring all of like this like new languages and new ways of being in the contemporary like world, you know.
Okay. We have...
That's a lot.
No, just we have around 10 minutes left. I want to leave a little space for audience questions at the end, but I might just ask one final closing question for you both. That you're both working with forms that are unstable, these club nights, sound system, dance, performance, online videos, degraded footage, memories or myths or scenes even that disappear. What does it mean to make art from things that are haunted by their potential ephemerality? And when these forms enter the museum, are they preserved or are they transformed into something else?
I don't know. I have no idea, but yeah.
That's
I feel like I low-key want to play music.
Okay, do you want to hear a song?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to play a song.
I mean, both of us work, you know, digitally, right? So I think those kind of questions of ephemerality and kind of, I don't know, longevity, legacy, whatever, they're not really so much on the table for me anymore. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, I find it hard to like finish a work now. And then when I finish the work, I find it hard not to change it afterwards.
Right.
So things are always in some kind of flux, you know what I mean? And then I also don't think any of it's going to last.
Yeah. Well, technology is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Right? This is the challenge of thinking about archives or an archival impact.
I feel like it's also hard for the artist itself to answer the question, because it's kind of like, is your work going to live on? I have no idea. Yeah. You know, like it's hard for the artist to like answer questions about longevity, because I feel like essentially artists are trying to fight their own mortality, if anything. But
I also like this idea when you're thinking about music. I mean, music is something that's designed to be repeated, played over and over again. It can be adapted. It can be reformatted. Someone else can sample. You can make your own version. So it has a different relationship, I think, to this sense of preservation.
For sure, absolutely.
Definitely.
I agree. 100%.
So on that note, it might open the floor to audience questions. Or you want to play some music?
Yes. I want to play like a song that I really like.
Yeah.
I mean, a video that I really like as well.
Tell us about it.
It's a song by Devo. It's called Joko Homo. And there's like a sample in it. Maybe people that are really, really into French electronic music, they will find the sample. That's a little game.
There's a sample. Sorry, say that again. The sample.
The sample has been sampled by a French electronic band, and I want people to find who.
But there's because there was a dance track that nicked it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It's that one, right?
Yeah, it was sampled by, but I don't want to give them too much.
Okay.
It's like a little game.
So maybe Mark will figure it out, but
No, I don't,
maybe you will.
I just remember the one that does the riff. Bam, bam. You gotta.
Should
I'm
I
not
play
gonna sing
it?
it. Yeah, play it. Yeah.
Come in, Boogie Boy. You're late. Have you got the papers that Chinaman gave you?
Here it is, Dad. Is it a surprise?
Yes, Boogie. In the past, this information has been suppressed, but now it can be told. Every man, woman, and mutant on this planet shall know the truth about de-evolution.
Oh, Dad, we're all Devo.
We are Devo. Are we not men? Devo.
love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I feel then, Mark, it feels appropriate. Do you want to share something?
I don't know if I've got anything just straight off the bat. Why don't we have some questions, and if I find something, I was thinking of Joko Homo. That someone nicked that, didn't they? The riff, anyway.
Well, we've got a question ready in the audience.
Did anybody find the sample?
Please go ahead.
Did anybody find the sample? No? Okay. I'll give the answer after the question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. Thanks for a really interesting talk. Mark, I really liked your idea about local music, and the musician, live music, very interested in pushing this idea of like grassroots music.
Yeah.
I was wondering, so what's grassroots art?
No, but that's the problem. That's what I was trying to kind of identify. Grassroots art is, ends up in kind of library in Plymouth. You know what I mean? It's like and doesn't kind of transcend that. Yeah, I don't know. That's a real problem for me. It's like, because that's where you could, you know, rather than going on this route of going to art school, like I was saying, and having to go through this kind of like transformation, you could just go to your local art gallery and kind of participate in what was happening there. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it is happening in some ways, but it's a lot harder to sustain, and in the end, you know, you will be drawn towards London. You know, London's a great attractor, and you will end up here if you're in anywhere in the UK. I mean, Glasgow used to have a kind of, I guess, so it still does have a grassroots, but it's much. I just find it much more difficult. I'm not just kind of metropolitan. I'm talking about like just on a very kind of local level. Do you know what I mean? In the way that music can develop in very small kind of local communities. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I'm going, sorry, just to say,
yep.
I am doing something in Birkenhead. I'm from Birkenhead, and I am doing something in Birkenhead next week at the Future Yards, which is a venue they've opened up there. So that's very kind of grassroots, local music thing.
Just carrying on from the previous question. So when you create the universal addressability of done things, was that a kind of a nod to that, a kind of democratization of objects in some way?
Yeah, definitely. I think universal addressability of dumb things was this show. I got basically commissioned by the Hayward. It was like a touring show, Hayward touring show, and I had to come up with some idea that included. I had to curate a show, but I didn't want to be a curator, so I just sort of assembled stuff. And sorry.
That's what I guess I'm saying. The stuff had a familiarity. You draw upon, I guess, formal concerns as well as kind of. It's not when you were talking about the theory and stuff like that. It has an access, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
Things could push and pull and create new tensions, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I mean that's. I mean, we talked a lot about collage without kind of naming it, but I think you know, I'd classify myself as a collagist. You know what I mean? That's how I came to art, and I think I came again the roots through music, through putting things together, and understanding and sampling and all the rest of it. And understanding, I guess, that things can have a very effective power, even when they're kind of cut off from their, you know, from their origin, from their, you know, they can be remixed in that sense. So I think it was the same approach to like doing that show. It's like, and then once you put everything together, I mean, it's the same. It's like I do a show on NTS, and it's the same process, you know. You've got the frame to put these things into, and then you're trying to collide as many things together in order to kind of generate an energy, right, or to produce an effect.
I think our time is up, but I do see
there's one more.
There's one more hand. We'll take one more question. There's a lot of hands coming up now.
Hello, thank you for the talk. Both of your work like hails from, you know, lived experiences. We talked about nostalgia, the influences you had kind of growing up. How do you make sure the work you have ahead of you is fresh? Where do you find your inspiration?
I think like trying to. I think my inspiration also comes from my like younger sibling as well, discussions with my younger sibling. And I guess also taking time off. It sounds really basic, but turning the image machine like down as well, because I feel like we see so many images nowadays that there's like a desacralization of the image completely. So in order not to like hate my own work, like, you know, like constantly, it's also important to hate your work a little bit, but it's like, in order to not hate being an artist and hate doing work, I feel like going on like slight like detox is also like keeps me like having like fresh ideas, but there's no like particular like stuff, I would say. There's nothing in particular.
I've been thinking about this a lot recently because I'd quite like to sort of, same as you, take some time. I'd like to retire in some ways.
Same.
And do something else. But I was talking before about how music opened up this kind of channel for me, which was like, I misunderstood it as a kind of channel of grace, but I think it was actually more like a kind of possession. And I do feel, you were talking before about being a machine. I do feel like there's some, I don't know, I'm getting my metaphors mixed up now, some kind of diabolical machine that kind of is operating below the surface or within my kind of pathology or whatever, that kind of, you know, like I listen, like I do, like I just mentioned doing a show on NTS, right? Which means I listen to like music from, like I go on SoundCloud and listen to 19-year-old kids in you know, New York doing some weird rap. And I think, I love this is great. And then at the same time, I'm thinking, I should be gardening. You know? I really shouldn't be kind of still, the pull of this shouldn't still be so strong. So, I don't know. So it's not up to me. That's the answer.
Well, on that note, I think, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Christelle. Thank you for coming.